Hi, everyone. Welcome to our first civics lesson of 2022. Today, we'll be learning about neighborhood councils. And FYI, not every city in the country has a neighborhood council. Usually, it's just large cities like Los Angeles, Washington, D.C., Honolulu, some others. So if you're currently in a city that doesn't have a neighborhood council, look into starting one where you are. Let's start with some common terms you'll hear. Community Impact Statement, or a CIS. Here's an example of a community impact statement. This is all public information that you can find on the council website. Community impact statements are official letters stating the position the board has voted to take on city issues. Neighborhood councils take action as a board, not as individuals, so no official positions are taken without a majority vote first. Neighborhood councils play an advisory role to the Los Angeles city government, so these community impact statements are shared with city decision makers, for example, city council or the mayor, and these statements are then added to the file the city keeps and debates on each issue. Community impact statements can change the course that higher levels of government may have been on, so these formal impact statements are really important. Executive Council. The Executive Council are officers of the General Board. They are elected to these positions by their fellow board members. There is a chair, also known as a president, and then depending on their size, they can have a first vice chair, second vice chair, a treasurer, a secretary, and even a parliamentarian. Board member. The neighborhood councils in Los Angeles have as few as 7 and as many as 35 board members. Board members are elected to represent the people who live and work within their council boundaries. They can represent an entire area or a zone of people. They could represent business owners in the area, or they can represent renters in the neighborhood. Each neighborhood council will have a different number and type of board seats depending on their population. There are neighborhood councils that are made up entirely of at-large seats, meaning each board member represents everyone and not a specific group. A stakeholder, that's all of you. Stakeholders are people who have an ongoing, substantial involvement within a council's boundaries. For example, students of a school or business owners or employees of a business. You might also live outside of a certain neighborhood council's boundaries, but you spend a significant amount of time within them. There are also stakeholder representatives who are appointed by the executive council. They are committed to attending committee meetings and they can vote on everything except financial matters. What is a neighborhood council? So we have local, city, county, state, and federal governments. Neighborhood councils are here at the local level. We connect Los Angeles's community to City Hall and promote citizen participation in local government. Members of the community are able to have input in decisions that affect their quality of life and the services they receive from the City of Los Angeles. Neighborhood council members complete the same ethics, funding, and code of conduct training that city council members do. How many neighborhood councils are in Los Angeles? There are 99 neighborhood councils in Los Angeles. Each council represents between 20,000 to over 75,000 people. I know everyone here is spread out all over Los Angeles. So if you go to this website, empowerla.org/city-map, right now you can find your neighborhood council. What is the difference between city council and neighborhood council? Let's start with city council. The Los Angeles City Council crafts the entire budget for the city of Los Angeles. They can pass laws that affect the entire city. They receive a salary, and the Los Angeles City Council is one council made up of 15 members who each represent approximately 250,000 people. Now for the neighborhood councils. Neighborhood councils organize community events and deal with local issues that are specific to each neighborhood. They submit community impact statements, and they are unpaid. They volunteer their time. There are 99 neighborhood councils within Los Angeles that are made up of between 7 to 35 board members who each represent up to approximately 10,000 people. What can a neighborhood council do? Neighborhood councils advise the city government on matters of neighborhood concern. Los Angeles is a huge, diverse city, so the neighborhood councils collect information and debate issues. We also host public candidate forums for city elections. Neighborhood councils support businesses to learn about their needs and weigh in on plans for development. We connect our community with city services, such as the Los Angeles Police Department, in informal settings to build trust and understanding between them and our stakeholders. And we provide neighborhood purpose grants to improve and beautify public areas within our neighborhoods. Do neighborhood council members get paid? No. As I said earlier, board members volunteer their time, but they are elected public officials for the city of Los Angeles. While individuals are not paid, the neighborhood councils do receive public funding for projects and activities, and all funds are distributed by board consensus. We have about $32,000 to work with for the fiscal year, and even if we can't cover something in our budget, we can convey the issue to higher city government to get it done on your behalf. How do you get elected to your neighborhood council? Board members serve 2-year terms or 4-year terms. This and whether or not there are term limits depend on your neighborhood council bylaws. You have to be at least 18 years old, but you do not need to be a U.S. citizen or legal U.S. resident, and the position is also open to the formerly incarcerated. If your neighborhood council has a youth seat available, you will likely need to be between the ages of 14 to 17. You can be elected to your neighborhood council in one of two ways. First is a regular election. The last Mid-City West Neighborhood Council regular election was March 16th, 2021. So the next one will be next year in 2023. Check your specific neighborhood council website to see if they have an election this year and when their next election will take place. A special election. Throughout the regular terms of neighborhood council board members, seats can become available due to people being unable to continue in the position for various reasons. In that case, a special election will be held to fill that seat, and you will be elected by a majority of the current board members and begin serving immediately. What do the neighborhood council committees do? Neighborhood councils have one general meeting per month and then individual committee meetings, additionally, at least once per month. These committee meetings have a more targeted focus on key issues or projects. Each elected board member is required to join at least one committee. Each neighborhood council will have different committees depending on their population and geography. For example, the Foothill Trails District has an equestrian committee, but over in Venice, they don't need an equestrian committee, but they do have an oceanfront committee. Some committees you'll see are Arts and Recreation, Economic Development, Outreach and Civic Engagement, Homelessness, Refugees and Renters' Rights, Planning and Land Use, Public Safety and Well-Being, Social and Racial Equity, Transportation and Sustainability, Animal Welfare, Equestrian Education and Activities, Community Beautification, Cultural Affairs, Emergency Preparedness, and Schools and Libraries. How do you participate in a neighborhood council as a citizen? Join your monthly neighborhood council meetings. The Mid-City West meeting is held on the second Tuesday of every month, but other neighborhood council meetings will be on different days. These are currently being held virtually on Zoom. At the start of every meeting, there is a period of public comment, so you can share anything you'd like the council to know. You can also join any of the committee meetings. If you're concerned about the unhoused population, join the Homelessness, Refugees, and Renters' Rights meeting. If you have questions about developments in your neighborhood, join the Planning and Land Use Committee meeting. You can find these committee meetings in addition to the monthly general meetings in the same place your neighborhood council calendar. Subscribe to your neighborhood council agenda emails, so even if you can't attend a meeting, you can still be aware of what's happening. Go to lacity.org, click on Government in the top right corner, then click on Subscribe to Agendas and Notifications. I had you all look up your neighborhood council earlier, so here you can click on that council and subscribe to their agenda. Or email them. On your neighborhood council's website, you can send an email that will go to the entire board. If you go to the council's page at empowerla.org/councils, you will scroll down to find your neighborhood council. That meeting day in the middle, that's the day of the month when that council has their general board meeting open to the public. I'm going to use Mid-City West as an example. Click on your council. That will take you to a page that looks like this. You can then click on that council's website here, circled on the right, and that will take you to your neighborhood council's actual website. Bookmark it, and you can always use it to find your monthly meetings or to email the board directly. Thank you so much for joining. I hope you now feel like you all know all about neighborhood councils. We'll see you in a few months at our next Civic series.